Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from Argentina, Spanish language English subs, released in the year 2023, directed by Demian Rugna, and this film is called When Evil Lurks. So When Evil Lurks is about two adult brothers that are hiding in the remote countryside of Argentina. Now the reason why they're hiding is because there is an ancient evil that's looking for them, and it can't find them. Therefore not only are they safe, but their estranged family in the city of Buenos Aires is safe. And so as the way the things are now, they're content with never talking to the family if it means their safety. But unfortunately, evil has now found them. They don't know what happened. This evil seems to have gained in intensity and strength, and so now the brothers are terrified that their family are in imminent danger. So they're going to race to Buenos Aires before evil actually gets there first, but unfortunately when they get to the city, all hell is broken loose and now the fight for survival has begun. So what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on When Evil Lurks. To say that I was excited for this movie was an understatement. This was a movie that I've been looking forward to for pretty much a very large part of this year, and the reason is because Demian Rugna is one of the most exciting directors to come out recently. He directed a film called Terrified that understood the true essence of what a horror film was, understood what it was to make you want to go out there and turn the light on. It understood what it was to actually create something that was a genuine horror experience, and that's a forgotten art these days. These days it's all about cattle prod scares, jump scares, stuff that shocks you but doesn't genuinely scare you. And so this is a movie that took me down memory lane, and actually to the days that I first watched Exorcist and the original Pet Sematary. And so that's definitely something that's very hard to do, but that's what Terrified did, his first film. Demian Rugna created something that took the world by storm, and so that can be a very good thing, but it can also be a very bad thing. And that's the reason why I was dreading coming into When Evil Lurks, because usually a follow-up film to something that's so successful isn't as good, and you get disappointed, and that disappointment can trick you into thinking that it's a bad movie, where in fact it was just such a high pedestal that the first film created. And that was something that happened to M. Night Shyamalan, The Sixth Sense. When that movie came out, everyone was going on about how good this director was, but then his follow-up films weren't as good, and people were saying how bad they are, but in reality they're not bad, they're just not as good as that really high standard suggests. And that's also happened to Alexandre Bastillo and Julien Marie, who created a French horror film called Inside. That was a movie that reinvented my love for horror, but their follow-up movies haven't been as good, therefore I've been very disappointed with them. But actually judging these films on an individual base, they're not bad movies, and so that's what I was hoping wouldn't happen to Demian Rugna, and that's why I was dreading actually watching this movie at the same time as being very excited. So was Demian Rugna going to fall into the trap of setting such a high pedestal, or was he actually going to be one of those rare directors that can actually maintain that elevated status? And so after watching When Evil Lurks, I can thankfully say that not only does Demian Rugna maintain that level of Terrified, he actually goes one step above. So if you are a fan of Terrified and you are a fan of genuine horror films, this is a movie that I would highly recommend. This is what horror is all about. This is what creates the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up. This is what makes you want to go and turn the light on, because it is genuinely unnerving stuff. Not only is it very unnerving and very scary, but thankfully the extreme violence in this movie was used for a very strong purpose, and that extreme violence creates a lot of unpredictability, therefore a lot of vulnerability. And when you're vulnerable, you have that sense of no control, and with no control you don't have any safety net, and without a safety net you are genuinely scared. And that's what When Evil Lurks does very well. And I'll go into the violence a little bit later, but what I also loved about this movie was the character development. The character development, the ways that these characters evolve, I thought was very fascinating. The relationships with each other, I thought when they all start to connect, it makes the horror that more frightening when it actually happens. And so these aren't cardboard cutouts, and so when a scary moment isn't happening, it never gets boring, because I wanted to know how these characters would unfold and how the situation is connected to them. And so Demian Rugna has taken a demonic possession kind of film but actually spun it around and made it his own. I really like the lore that this movie has, and so if you are a fan of demonic possession sort of movies and you thought you've seen them all, then When Evil Lurks is definitely one that will really reinvent that love for demonic possession films, because it's not a generic movie. It's not copying everything that's been done before that's been successful. And so this not only shows the competency in Demian Rugna's production, but also his ability to tell a story that's different within a very tight subgenre. And so that's something that I really love about this director, the fact that he can make something different amongst something that you've seen before. So there's cinematography in this movie is absolutely fantastic. The soundtrack combined with it to make something that was very morbid, and it creates that level of interest from start to finish. The movie elevates itself very, very well, and there's no stagnant moments. There's no moments where you can really catch your breath. It is done at a very frenetic pace, but at the same time, it's slow enough to allow these characters to evolve in a way that you can really connect to them. So you go on the journey in an interesting story, and you're also going on the journey with the level of violence and the stuff that's actually happening to these characters. You're actually feeling it as a viewer as well. So that was all very good. I thought the acting was fantastic. Luis Zambrowski, who is a very famous Argentinian actor, is actually in this movie. He plays more of a cameo, and I actually really like that. So it's clear that Damien Brugner has really opened the eyes of the world and is actually making horror movies that you don't see these days, and so that was all very good. So not only do you have a very suspenseful and very scary film, but you also have a very extremely violent movie. Now, what I loved about the extreme scenes of violence was the fact that it was the cat amongst the pigeons. All bets were off. In a lot of these American horror films, you've got certain people that violence is not inflicted upon because these directors don't have the balls to do it. Whereas in this movie, all bets are off. There are some moments that genuinely shocked me, and after those genuine shocking moments of violence, I thought to myself, where is this director going to take me? And so he takes you down a very vulnerable road, and you're flinching at the possibility of that violence. The anticipation of that violence I thought was even more frightening than the actual act of violence. And so when that one particular scene, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I'm going to say it involves a dog, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I was really pleased that Damien Brugner actually went to those lengths. These are lengths that other directors threaten to go to but don't quite push the envelope, whereas this is a director who will go that extra step to genuinely shock an audience. But it's extreme violence done for a very strong purpose, and that purpose is to take you off guard. That purpose is to create that vulnerability. It's not there just for the sake of shocking you. And so I thought the shocking violence had even more impact because of the fact it actually plays really well off that absorbing atmosphere, and so that was very, very good. And so it is a very frightening film that I would highly recommend to anyone out there who is into this kind of stuff. It's one of the rare occasions where a director has actually maintained that level, if not gone one step above, and it's a very exciting name to look out for. If I have issues with this movie, it's the same issues I had with Terrified. Some of the scenes were a little bit jarring. It didn't really connect with the next scene as well as I really would have liked it, but that was a very minimal issue that I had with this movie. I thought the ending of the film was absolutely fantastic. This is definitely a very, very extreme horror film, but at the same time creates very absorbing characters and a really, really good horror atmosphere. This is the true essence of horror, and so if it sounds like your kind of thing, definitely go out there and watch it. I was really, really impressed with what Damien Brugner has produced, and as a result of that, I'm going to give When Evil Lurks 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.